This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Howdy folks, and welcome to Texas. And this is the brand spanking new Polestar 4. This one is the dual motor, and it is the fastest Polestar the company has ever made. And it is a beast. So one of the interesting attributes to this system here, it's a pilot assist system, but it is unique in terms of its display and how it actually functions. So you turn it on, and there we go. You can see the graphics and whatnot on my screen, which is, look at that, that's cool. I mean, yeah, some of the vehicles don't quite match the vehicles that are out there, but it's pretty cool. And then you are able to, control your distance. It maintains your lane, it does assist, and it's basically level to autonomy if you think about it in terms of keeping you in your lane, keeping the distance, keeping the speed and everything else. It's not super intrusive, but it most definitely lets you know when you're screwing up or when you're taking your pressure off the pedal and it really, really wants you to take more pressure off the pedal, it definitely grabs those brakes. One of the things that makes Polestar unique is the fact that they come up with these gorgeous designs, and the way they did the split headlight design up here, yes, there's a little hint of Volvo still in there, but it is really their own identity. As a matter of fact, Polestar's had their own identity for quite some time. Initially, Polestar did start off as a branch of Volvo. They were basically racing, and they went from racing to using the racing tech in internal combustion vehicles, and eventually they morphed into their very own company, which is exactly what this is. And as such, they're creating their own identity by creating very attractive vehicles in my book. And that all starts right here on the side when you look at these 22-inch wheels. Now, you can get 20-inch wheels, 21-inch wheels, or like these, the 22-inch wheels, and these are rolling with Pirellis. Yeah, so really chunky tires, right? And we've been hearing them on the highway, but the grip is pretty damn good. There's an interesting design here. The one of the guys from design was actually talking to us about the way they designed the door, and they had a bit of an issue. It's actually a very big door if you look at all the material from down here and up here. So rather than make it look like one big huge hunk of metal, they added these extra components here for different color, and it did break up the image quite a bit. And I do think it is slimming. I should think about doing this with my daily wardrobe. Typical thing with the handles that can go in and they're aerodynamic when they're flush. I'm not a big fan, but a lot of cars do it nowadays. It's kind of typical. This is a good view of the roof though, from here. See this roof? This can go opaque. So it has an electric charge that will allow it to do that. There's basically two different things it can do, either light or dark. But it goes down quite a bit down here, right? Then you see this black area here. This is not rear glass. This is just a black panel. And then it leads to this section here. I suppose that if they wanted to, this would have been where the rear glass could have gone. However, it isn't here. And there's a very good reason for that. You see, all of the strength in the back of the vehicle is actually back here. And the way they mentioned it in the briefing was rather than having it up and over your head and then having the glass back here, they pulled it further back, allowing for greater capacity inside for the passenger. And yet the strong point for rollover protection is back here. That's their explanation for it. Do you buy it? Well, I will say this, it does allow for a very slinky shape. And then there's this, of course, and this is kind of the pièce de résistance, and that is that. That is a very important thing right there, because those cameras, that represents rear vision. And the reason this is important is that without it, we're not going to see a damn thing behind us. Because, as mentioned, there's no rear window in this car. None whatsoever. And I honestly don't miss it all that much as I'm driving. Now, I bet you're wondering about, well, okay, bub, you live in snow country. Well, I don't. I live in God's country, which is California. But the rest of the guys, they live in snow country, right? And yes, when you have nothing but a rear view camera and you have a pile of snow in your car, seeing out of the back is a no-go. True. So the thing is, all you have to do is just remove the snow from the camera. Although I always recommend you would take the snow off your whole damn car, you lazy bums, and just please, so you don't spray it all over the highway. But anyway, take it off that one area and you're able to see. You don't have to, this is according to Polestar, there should be no reason for you to have to scrape where the lens is, that it is somewhat heated, so it should be okay even under snow and some ice. In addition, that camera has a little bit of a lens covering, so mud, dirt, sand, and whatnot don't get onto the lens, and thus it's easier to clean up that one little area. And that makes sense. So they've paid a lot of attention to it because they know that the only way you're able to see behind you, aside from these side view mirrors, which are, they're okay, is this. This is it. This is all you got. Then you have the rear tail design, which to me is a mixture of sort of a Volvo type thing going on with the sharp lines and kind of Porsche. See what I mean back here? This sort of reminds me of some of the stuff that Porsche has been doing as well. But one thing I'll say about the design is that it's very clean and it's rather simple, and they're not pushing too hard to make it anything other than an elegant design. And this is what they call it. I kid you not, robotic. They like it, but it's sexy robotic. They like it even more. That's what they call this, a sexy robotic design, because they're Swedish. That's all I got. So in order to start the vehicle, you get it running, put your foot on the brake, like I'm doing here. Wabam! There you go. You have a 10.4-inch screen here and a 15.2-inch screen over there. And they are extremely clear. I do like the graphics that are on here. And we're going to show you some of the cool graphics in a minute because there's lots to see. And I'm not going to spend all day on that, but I do want to talk about it a little bit. Before we get started, though, you have the option of using a key fob. Fairly simple key fob here. In fact, it's just a obelisk. There's nothing to it. You can have a card, or you can have it on your phone. So there's a variety of different ways that you can actually have a system set up for this vehicle in order to get it started so you can actually drive it. And it kind of works like a Tesla in that respect. Now, in terms of the components that are used throughout, a majority of the components that you can touch and feel have been made to be sustainable. It's between 80 and 92% sustainable materials that they're using in the vehicle, depending on the package you get. And here's an example of that. You can get a Napa leather package. By the way, if you get that Napa leather package, you get up to 16 speakers. Otherwise, it's 12. Yes, there are speakers in the headrests as well. The rest of the vehicle, though, I mean, it does feel like real leather throughout. This is an interesting material. They talked quite a bit about it because it's a woven fiber that they're using not only here, but on the door panels as well. And what's interesting about the door panels, which unfortunately we can't quite show you with all this light out there, is that there's actually light inside the door panel. So the illumination inside, when it's dark outside, actually is coming through this porous material. It shines through. And it also has to do with the mood lighting inside the vehicle. And that is part of the themes. Let's talk about one of my favorite buttons on this vehicle, at least when it's not moving, and that is this one here, Ambience. You guys ready? This is hysterical. Here we go. Look at that. Now, see this whole setup here? Keep watching, because something funny is going to happen in just a momentito. And yeah, look at that. Yep, little Polestar flying through the universe. I'm sure Elon has something to say about that. But so there's different planets that you can choose. There's Mercury. Oh, Uranus. That's my favorite. So let's say I'm over at Mars, right? So you got this red. if it were super dark outside, you would see that in some of the trim sections here, if you could barely make it out here, that it's actually red, and it works with the Mars theme of the ambience. It also would show through here, and it lights under here. If you look at my finger, you can just see a little bit of that red. Now when I go to Earth, it turns to blue. Technical details for you. So 100 kilowatt hour battery down here, and that is across the board. So single motor gets it, and this dual motor gets it. This dual motor has a 544 horsepower setup. That's combined. It's fast. It's brutally fast. 0 to 60 is just over 3 seconds. One of the fastest Polestars ever made. Speaking of fast, 200 kilowatt charger. That is pretty good. And then 11 kilowatt AC charger. That's pretty good. And you know what else it has? Which I'm not sure if you guys are going to like this or not like it. It's curious. That, my friends, is CCS. Not an NACS like everybody else is moving to, which is kind of curious. Wireless charging right here. It's actually a very handy spot for wireless charging, and my phone, which is a little bit bulky with the case on it, fits in there without a problem. This is all for your infotainment system. So there's volume control there. You can see, it works actually nicely. I like the fact that you can hear that. Yep. And then play and pause. Just that simple. I like having that. It's better than not having any button switches or dials at all. Cup holders are here, and there's a cover for that as well. Very simple. And then you have storage. Not a ton of it, but there's 2 USB-Cs right there. But where your big storage is actually underneath my knee, underneath the cameraman's knee. There is a ton of storage down here. You have a tray, you have all of this extra material here. There's a lot of space. Door cards are very spacious as well, and they have bottle holder openings in them. There is a glove compartment. It's going to take me a half an hour to figure out how to access it. Oh, here it is right here. All right. Hit the button, and there it opens. Voila, huh? And then I hit it again and it closes. No, what? What did I pay for? Okay, we'll talk about that part a little bit later. You have this sunroof here. Controls are very simple for that. Basically on or off in terms of it being opaque or, well, not. And then the rest of the interior is delightfully simple. Navigation, their internal system, all of it is based on a Google system. It will work with Apple CarPlay. Android Auto is coming. This is also very cool. So this display is very easy to move around, and this is very different than other Polestars that I've been in. So you have this setup here, which is your half navigation screen, and then you have these 4 quadrants here, right? Well, if you drag it over to there, then you have a larger screen here for navigation, and now you're down to 2 quadrants. Or slide it over, and you have one whole very, very big screen for navigation. Also, that navigation can be put right here, right in front of the driver, which is super cool. So if you look at this vent right here, there's no thing to control it. No. Why make it easy when you can make it much more complex? Because then you have this, which actually changes the direction. Can you see those lines? That's where the air is coming out. And yes, it's animated. It looks cool. And I'm going to try to direct it on me. I think that's me. Let's see. That's my wrist, but that's really close. I got to be honest with you folks. I don't want to be looking at this screen and playing with it as I'm driving, trying to make these vents simply point to me. I would just rather the vent control system, which has been around for about a century, and have it point to me when I want it to physically, as opposed to doing it here using this electronic system. It's cool, it's graphic, I like that. I don't like using it, and I really think that it's not a great idea. When you drive it, it feels not quite as silenced as a Mercedes-Benz, the equivalent, the Q series. It's not as powerful or as in your face as a BMW electric vehicle in terms of the way they design. yet the BMW is still far more tame. Both those vehicles, and I directly compare them, they have a better ride. This is a much more sporty ride. That's not bad, but you definitely feel it. And when I'm not talking, you hear that, that is the road noise coming directly from the tires. As for the rest of the vehicle, steering, well, it's fairly linear. I mean, it's definitely, as I'm going through the corners, I'm not feeling a lot, but I also have a really good idea of what the front wheels are doing. So at least with that, I have some decent mental connection, but there's not a whole lot of physical connection, right? The accelerator, when I put my foot down, I am barely touching it right now to maintain the speed limit-ish. And if I sneeze on it, it's gonna fly. This thing, one thing about it, it is remarkably powerful and extremely fast. Handling is fantastic. You know, so far it's just not even remotely leaning, even though the thing it's heavy. It's got a big 100 kilowatt hour battery underneath me. And the interior looks beautiful. The seats are fairly comfortable. But so far, what really gets me about this vehicle, right, is that it is very simple to get into and drive. Once you learn the basic controls, that is the learning curve, is this stuff here, right? Here and here. These spots. Everything else has been a breeze. Let there be no doubt that there is tons of headroom, but there are a few things you should probably know. First of all, Polestar likes to tell you a lot about who they are, and this is an example. This is a Polestar 4, and it has 100% traced leather, animal welfare secured. Take from that what you will. Okay. But there's a lot going on back here. First of all, gobs of headroom. And legroom is really good, but here's an interesting thing. I like to drop my seat down as far as it'll go because I have a tall torso. And because of that, I can barely get my feet underneath the front seat. Now, if it was at a regular height, it shouldn't be a problem, but it is something to keep in mind if you have big people with really big feet behind you. But with that being said, there's still really good legroom. And if you want to change things up, see these buttons over here? Well, I'm just going to hit this and down I go. Oh, I am reclining a little, not a lot, but it still reclines. It doesn't go forward and aft, just reclines, but that's still pretty cool. And this also has, it should, I think, open. There it is. Woohoo! Drink holders. But there's more, because this can fold back, so you can hold a third adult back here. And you have this. This screen allows you, if you can see it, is a little bit bright on it right now, but this screen allows heating, air conditioning, and of course, seat temperature adjustment. All right, so down here, below this control panel, you have the two USB-Cs. Now, vents are here, but they're also on the doors, and I do like having them doubled up like that. That is extra high-end luxury, that is. And of course, your seat belts have this cool orange-yellow thing going on. That's very Polestar as well. Honestly, maybe not everybody's into it, but I think aesthetically it's cool. And the thing is about at least this particular Polestar is that there's probably 6 different colors in here. They're muted differences, but in addition, you have all of these different materials that they're using as well. And it's everything from perforated seats to solid to having this type of harder, so it's basically a soft plastic. It's an injected molded something or other, but it feels actually quite good. And they just got this going all throughout the vehicle, and they do a beautiful job of mixing them together. In terms of aesthetics, it is a beautiful interior. Let's talk about adjustments, because this car is fully adjustable. Remember how I was talking about it being a little firm or a little tight? Well, guess what? It's in the standard mode right now. So it's got nimble, and then it's got firm. God help us if we left it in firm, because my molars, I don't know how strong they are, and I can pretty much guarantee you this car will try to extract them from your face if you go over various bumps. So I'm going to put it back on standard right now. I'm not messing with that. It's just really tight. Now, the other thing is that you can change the steering, and I do like that you could change the steering feel. Now, it's not feel. Feel is not quite, I would say it's heft, steering heft, because it goes from being relatively lightweight in your hand to a thicker feel, right? And so you're not feeling more of the front wheels, you know? You're just getting a heavier feel at the steering wheel with effort. So that's what they should say, but I get it. And then you have power delivery. So right now we're in range, which is probably good because this thing doesn't have the best range, right? But you can go into performance as well. And then they have creep, and no, it's not a Radiohead song. They're actually referring to the vehicle being able to, when you let off the accelerator, moving up a little bit on its own, mimicking the characteristics that you'd get from an automatic transmission in an internal combustion vehicle. So that makes sense that you can adjust that. Some people do like having that. There is hill descent control as well, and you can mix with your electronic stability control. And that's all here on this screen. Do I recommend doing that while driving? No. And there's more too, because you have one pedal driving and you have different types of settings here for low and standard. All right, hitting this button here, if you come and look, it's all the way over here. It's the only way to open that. You get 18.6 cubic feet of cargo space behind the back seat, 54.2 cubic feet of cargo space with the seats folded. Now here's an interesting little tidbit. Oh, by the way, that 18.6, that includes this little section down here. Not a whole lot, but yeah, some. Check this out, right? See how this little thing is here? It took a second for us to figure out, but basically what this does is it creates a back area behind the rear passenger seats to have this. That's the only purpose of it. Once you remove it, you can put down the seats and you have this whole opening here to lay things relatively flat. There is a frunk. Shall we look at what's inside? Yeah, not a lot of room. That is actually a small backpack that has our video gear in it, and it barely fits in there. Putting my foot down, get a little bit of acceleration. This thing rockets, right? I mean, we're already going really, really fast. But here's the thing, and I'm curious to what your take is out there. There's no audible connection to the motors, right? So a lot of the electric vehicles I've recently driven have had some sort of noise, a whirling noise, a jet noise, a rushing noise, even a fake engine noise, something to correlate it with the speed that you're going. And from the inside of the vehicle, there's absolutely nothing. It's whisper quiet, except for the road noise. And it's not that I hate it, I don't mind it that much, but every once in a while, especially when I'm punching it and hearing just wind and car, I kind of sort of miss having some sort of electronic something whispering into my ear telling me, yes, you are going faster, yes, you are pushing it, or something, Well, my friends, this was a fine driving vehicle, a lot of fun on the roads, has tons of crazy acceleration, handles great. It's not perfect, but it's fun. It's beautiful to look at. But you know what's not so beautiful is pricing. Oof, it's steep. Yeah, so this one, as equipped, which is fully loaded, comes out to over $80,000. Now, this one, the dual motor, starts at $62,900, but then you are getting the electrochromatic glass roof. That's $1,500. The Napa leather, $3,700. The Plus package is $5,500, and the Performance package, which gets you those Brembo brakes, the beefier suspension, 21-inch wheels, that's $4,500. Metallic paint's $1,300. Destination's $1,400. Yeah. Now you can get the single motor. And the single motor is in the mid $50,000 zone. Far better pricing on a car that is quite good to begin with. If you need to get the dual motor, maybe you don't get all the goodies and spend 80 grand plus for it. I'm just saying, right? Is it worth it? That's a tough one. I've driven other vehicles recently from Hyundai, Genesis specifically, and Mercedes-Benz and BMW and whatnot, and all of them have built a very good, compelling vehicle for less money. But None of them were quite as fast as this one, and in my mind, this is one of the better looking vehicles out there. So do you think with your head or your heart, right? That's the question. Whew, that's a lot of money though. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll see you guys next time.